Welcome to today's class on Dotloop 201. Today's class is the more advanced Dotloop class, and my name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing. In today's advanced Dotloop class, it will be a little faster pace. I teach this class assuming you have at least a little bit of experience with Dotloop. You've been around Dotloop and know your way around it at least a little bit, and my goal is to teach you some extra tips, tricks, and time savers that will help make your Dotloop experience a little more effective and a little more efficient. If you are brand new to Dotloop, I would highly suggest starting out with the Dotloop 101 video, which can be found on slmtraining.com. That will be the slower paced video and walk you through the basics of Dotloop, and this class will of course build on that. So as you most likely know, the best way to get into Dotloop is by going to mykw.kw.com. And that's where I am on my screen here. So again, that is mykw.kw.com. And you'll want to go ahead and click on Start My Transactions, the blue link on your top center edge control panel box. You'll see that right under My Transactions. It says Start My Transactions in blue. And that's where you'll want to go ahead and click to access your Dotloop account right away. Now, a couple things when logging into your Dotloop account. Of course, you can go to dotloop.com directly to log in if that's how you feel most comfortable. That is certainly fine. There's also a Dotloop mobile app for any iPhone or Android users. So if you have an iPad or an Android tablet as well, the Dotloop app is really great to download, so you can do this with your clients on the go. Now, as you log into Dotloop, one thing I do want to mention is if your Dotloop screen looks different than mine. This is the newer Dotloop homepage view, and the new Dotloop homepage view probably rolled out about 3 to 6 months ago, so it is fairly new. If you are looking at a black and red screen, there's nothing wrong with your account. That is just the older Dotloop account. So if you are looking at my screen, stay where you are and hold tight for a second. If you are looking at a black and red screen, let me show you how to switch on over to the new Dotloop homepage so that we can all be on the same page. Now, if you're looking at a screen like mine is now, that is the older Dotloop homepage view. And to start learning the new Dotloop homepage, you'll simply want to click on the slightly darker black bar on the top of your screen that says click here for early access to the new and improved loops page. Now let's go ahead and click here and just feel assured that you can always switch back to this Dotloop homepage that you are comfortable with, and I'll show you how. If you've been using Dotloop for a little bit and are comfortable with this homepage here, you can always switch back for now. I'm not sure how long Dotloop will allow you to switch back and forth, so it's great to go ahead and learn the new Dotloop homepage. So that's what I'll be showing you starting off in today's class. So if possible, go ahead and click here for early access to the new and improved loops page. And that will take you to the Dotloop homepage, the newer version. For those of you who feel very comfortable with the old Dotloop homepage, if you ever need to get back to the black and red version we were just looking at, you would simply do that by clicking on your headshot or maybe your initials in a circle on the top right, and you'll have the option to switch to old Dotloop right from that drop down. So you're not stuck. I know if you've been using the technology for a little bit, switching the software that you've learned is really frustrating. But the good news is it's only the homepage that has changed, and it's really just the look that's changed. All the navigation is pretty similar, and once you click on any of the loops, it takes you back to the look that you're accustomed to. So to start off in today's class, I do want to teach you a little bit about the Dotloop homepage view here, how to organize your loops primarily. So first of all, I want to point out this search bar right here. You can easily search through all your loops. As you probably know, that is the fastest way to pull up any of your loops. Moving to the right side of that search bar, we have a filters option, and let's take a look at that. So if you click on that, it will show you a whole bunch of different filters, and this is a really great way to organize your Dotloop homepage. As you start to sell lots of homes, you will have lots of loops in your account, and you don't need so many loops in your account. It makes them hard to find what you're looking for quickly and sort through that. Okay, so let me show you how to keep that organized. So first of all, you have an archived option at the top. So there is no deleting your loops in Dotloop. You can't delete forms, you can't delete loops in your account. You can only archive them. So that's good and that's bad. You know, if you lose a loop, you can rest assured that it's there and you will be able to find it because there is no deleting it. But to archive it, what you'll need to do is you'll notice on each of your loops, if you do have any loops, if you don't have any loops, just look at my page right now. If you have loops, you'll notice an archive option right on the front of your loops, which they made a lot easier. So now, as you might have guessed, to archive that, you can simply go ahead and click Archive on the front of any of those loops. Okay, I do notice that turns the loop gray at the top and shows me it's archived. Now it won't just disappear, you will need to refresh your page in order for those archive loops to disappear. So if you, to refresh your page, if you're not familiar with that, that is the circle, or the arrow in a circle rather, on the very top left of your browser, kind of by the back button. So that is the refresh button. If I do that, I now see those two loops are archived. So they're gone off my home screen but not deleted. So let's visit back to this filters option on the top right to understand that a little better now. So now that we know how to archive, we see these three options of hiding archive. Okay, that's typically what you'll want to leave it on. But if you lost a loop or need to find an archived loop, you can always click one of these options. So let's say you know you archived a loop and you need to get it back. You can click on the only archived option and click apply. And that will show you all of your archived loops. Okay, all of these are marked archive. And you can always click unarchive to bring that right back. Okay, that'll bring it back to your Dotloop homepage. With that being said, along those same lines, you can also select the all option here from the filters menu. And that will show you every single loop you have in your Dotloop account. So if you lose a loop, this is what you'll want to do. Select filters, click all, and then apply, and you'll be able to search through all of your loops right away. But typically, we'll want to leave it to hide archive, but you will be using that quite a bit as you get more loops here. Other filters that you can take advantage of. So from this filters menu, I do also want to mention this loop statuses option. You notice a whole bunch of options here. These are really great. They do other things, but they primarily help you keep your Dotloop homepage organized. So you'll notice on each one of my loops here, I do have a status option under type. Now you will need to select the loop type first in order to select a status. Of course, if you don't have a loop, just watch on my screen here. So for type here, I will always need to select that type first. So let's say it's a listing for sale or a purchase. I can select that from that list there under type. Once I select a type, it will then give me the option to select a status. Okay, so you can select the status is pre-offer, under contract, sold, and so forth. Okay, and terminated is also helpful. So let's say I change this to sold. Let's say this loop's sold. So I'm done with this loop. I don't necessarily need to be looking at my sold loops or my terminated loops or withdrawn loops for that matter. You really only need to be looking at your active or under contract loops. All right, so to do that now, to further organize that, so I see I have my sold loops here. I can come up to filters, and in this loop status, all right, in this loop status section, we can go ahead and select the checkboxes going down that list. So I'm going to go ahead and check all of those, except I'm going to leave sold unchecked. I'm going to leave done unchecked. I don't need to see terminated or withdrawn either. Okay, so I'll select all of those that fall into some sort of active category. Once I select those checkboxes, I can then click apply on the bottom right. And it will hide all of my sold loops, terminated loops, anything that I did not check. Anything I left unchecked would not be shown on my Dotloop homepage. Of course, if you feel like you lost a loop and need to find that again, come back up to filters. You can click clear on the bottom left and then apply to view all of your loops right away. Okay, so that's the best way to keep your Dotloop homepage organized. Very, very helpful so you don't have so many loops on your homepage here. Just a couple more things to point out before we create a practice loop in today's class. On the right-hand side, we do have some sort options here. And this helps quickly find your loop that you need. My favorite sort option is the last updated, so that the last loop that I worked on, did any activity in, would show at the very top of that list. But of course, you have a whole bunch of different options that you can sort your loops by, so totally up to you. And just a heads up, what this down arrow means to the right of that, that is giving you the option to sort in ascending or descending order. So you can select that to change that right away. And last but not least, we do have a list option on the far right. So right now you're looking at a grid option showing your Dotloop homepage exactly how that is. If you prefer to view that in a list option, you can click on that little list icon on the top right. That will change your Dotloop homepage to more of a list view. From what I've seen, all of the capabilities, all of the features are the exact same in either view. So it's totally personal preference on what you like, which jives a little more with you. Okay, so you can switch back and forth on that on the top right, this little icon, and now it shows a grid icon indicating I can switch back over to the grid view. So totally personal preference on that. And last little thing, I do want to mention that Dotloop has rolled out a texting feature. That is a newer feature, I'm going to say in the last couple months here. You will notice a little blue tab coming out of the left side of your screen with a speech bubble. If I were to click on that, I do have the option to send text messages to my clients. Okay, people like this because it would keep track of all of your text messages, all from your Dotloop account. So you have records of all of that, which is definitely nice. To utilize that, you can click the little writing icon on the top right of this messenger section. And it will search through your contacts here. Okay, or you can of course enter in a contact name here. Let's see if I can do a fake number here. All right, so you can enter in a contact here. So this is syncing with your contacts. Click next. It knows, it's too smart. Let's see. All right. So now with a valid number, it would bring me to the next screen so I could type something. Just a heads up, it does not send from your mobile number. It sends from a different phone number that will be coming from. So test this out. Text yourself from here so you can see what it looks like if you were to utilize this texting feature and how you can respond back to it. It's pretty cool for tracking purposes. So feel free to test that out right from Dotloop. And again, that was all on this little icon that looks like a speech bubble popping out the left side. Okay, so if you were following along with me, I just clicked on that X, the tab on the X to push that out, to clear that out so we can go in and add a loop. Let's add a practice loop here. So to do that, I'm simply going to click on that blue button on the top right that says Add Loop. If you've not done this yet in the new Dotloop homepage, it is a slightly different process. There are 4 main steps that you'll need to do. First of all, we need to name the loop. So it's, again, really great to have a practice loop in your account so that if you're practicing Dotloop features, you can practice them before doing it in front of a client so it looks like you know what you're doing. Always helpful. So if you want to name this 123 practice loop, 123 Main Street, or your home address, feel free. Okay, you will need to name this the property address if at all possible. And I do want to point out something, just how Dotloop works the best. Now you will notice that when you start typing in the loop address, it does start giving you suggestions. And you might have wondered in the past what the point of that is. So let me tell you about that. It is a pretty cool feature that does help out. So first of all, in the very most basic sense, what it will do is it will connect your loop to that agent. So let's say I am representing the buyer and I am making an offer on this listing. Okay, I can see this is the correct listing because I can see the MLS ID and I can see the agent's name here. So if I were to click on this option here, what it would do is it would sort of link my loop to the listing agent's loop in a very privatized way. So the way it would link the 2 loops is, first of all, it would take all of the public property information from the listing agent's loop and pull it into my loop so that that property information will autofill onto every form that I fill out. So as a buyer's agent, maybe you don't know all the property information out the gate, or it saves you the step of having to look all of that up because it would pull that from the listing agent's loop and autofill it on every single form that you bring into this loop. So definitely very handy in that sense. Another great reason to select one of these options is if you've been using Dotloop for a little bit, you may have noticed a two loop situation. So if you are representing your clients, let's say you're the listing agent in this case, and you receive an offer on your listing, and it comes in as a whole nother loop in your Dotloop account because it's sent from the other agent. So now you have two different loops for the same property. Very confusing to say the least, okay, to pull everything over to your loop. If you were to select one of these options, it does link your loop to the other agent's loop. So when that agent makes an offer on your property, it automatically puts the offer in your existing loop. It'll just create a new folder and have the offer in that folder within your existing loop so that you don't have two loops. Okay, so that is a little more of an advanced tip. If you've been using Dotloop for a little bit, you might have run into that in the past, and that would really help on that. I will show you a way to link your loop in this sense with even when your loop is already created in just a moment here. So hang tight with me, but after that little spiel, let's go ahead and put in the Dotloop property address here for our listing and click continue. Now in the second step here, we do need to select a template. Now this is not a mandatory step and you might not have templates on here. So this is only if your office uses loop templates. If they do, you will have a list of templates from this list. If you do not have any templates available, there's nothing wrong with your account. That just means that you are not, your office does not utilize that. So with that being said, what this does, if you were to select one of these options, it would automatically pull in all the forms that you need to get started on a listing, for example, or a sales loop. So it does definitely save you some time. So if you do have these options, I definitely encourage you to utilize that. If not, no worries. I'm going to go ahead and leave that off so we're on the same page and click continue on the bottom right. Sorry, I did that a little fast. I click continue on the bottom right, the blue button there. Where it brings us to upload a photo. So we have the option to upload a photo. So add a photo of the house on the top of your loop. Dotloop does say that if you take the time to add a photo of the home that your buyers are purchasing or selling for that matter, that they are 5 times more likely to use you again or refer you out. Okay, because it makes them feel like, wow, that agent created a personalized website for me to sign my documents. So let me show you how easy it is to upload a photo. So maybe you can start using this little handy trick. So first steps first is you would need to save a picture of the home they're purchasing on your computer. So you could go on the MLS, save that picture to your computer, and come into your Dotloop account, where we can now click upload a photo. It will then search your computer, so I can navigate on over to wherever I saved that home photo, double click on that, and it will pull in a picture of the house. Because of course your buyers are very excited about the home they're buying, and they would love to see that at the top of the forms they're signing, top of their loop. There's no real customization on this. It kind of is what it is on this little sliver, so you can't move it around, can't crop it. You can only see what you can see here. And then you can click done on the bottom right. That'll do a little work here, and then finish that up where you'll see your new loop. From here, you can either click on this new loop or click View Loop on the bottom right to get started working on your loop right away. Now, before I go any further, I do want to make sure that you are seeing KW Premium on the top left of your Dotloop account. Okay, if you just see a Dotloop logo on the top left and it does not say KW Premium, that means you're not connected to your market center and will not have access to all the features in Dotloop and access to all of the templates and forms in your account. If you are not seeing KW Premium on the top left of your Dotloop account, please go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let me send that out. So that was support@scottleroymarketing.com. Okay, and they will be able, just let them know that your Dotloop account is not connected to your market center, and they can do that for you right away. And while I have this little speech bubble up, I do want to send out some notes that I have on today's class. If you would like to, if you prefer to have notes to follow along This will take you to a link with notes. The first page will be on the Dotloop 101 class, and the second page will be more on the tips and tricks in the Dotloop 201 class. It's always handy to have written notes in case you would like that. If you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, L-E-A-H, and I'd be happy to send over those notes to you directly. All right, so now that we are in our new loop, the first thing that we'll want to do is add our clients to the loop. Okay, if we're wanting them to electronically sign, they would need to go ahead and scroll on down to the very bottom of your loop where you'll see the people section. Okay, let's go ahead and add a client to our loop so we have someone to practice on. So we'll go ahead and click Add Person on the top right here of this people section. I know this is a little more of the basics, but we do need to get a practice loop set up so that we can learn some more advanced tips. So we're clicking Add Person, excuse me, on the top right of the people section, and we'll put in the client's name. So you can go ahead and put in your favorite movie star, your spouse's name, John Smith if you're not feeling particularly creative, okay, whatever name you would like. And we do need 3 main things to add our client to the loop. That is their first and last name, email address. So for the email address, I would suggest putting in a personal email address you have, one that is not connected to your Dotloop account. That way you can see what it looks like when you share forms to your client. So you can see your client's view of this to help your clients out. So we have name, email address, and now a role. Okay, and I'm going to be working on a listing in today's class, so I'll go ahead and select that this is the seller from that drop-down. The role is extremely important as it will not allow your clients to electronically sign without a role. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to assign your clients a role. So seller in this case. Those are the 3 main things that you have to fill out. Okay, I will show you a couple other fields that you can fill out. Not totally necessary, but it will autofill this information onto every form that you add to your loop. So you can fill that out. Quick note on the Add to My Team feature. If you are taking notes in today's class, please note to never, ever, ever click Add to My Team if you are adding a client to your loop. This Add to My Team feature, if I were to click that, it would allow my client to see everything in my loop that I can see, and I of course don't want that. Okay, the general concept of Dotloop is everything is private in your loop until it is shared. Okay, so your clients can only see forms and people in your loop that you choose to share with them. Okay, so we never want to click this for our clients, Add to My Team. Never want to click that, but it is a cool feature. So let me explain quickly when you would want to use that. So if you are co-listing with an agent in your office, so you are on the same side of the transaction, emphasis on same side of the transaction, you could add the other agent to your loop per the same method here and click Add to My Team, and it would add this loop to the other agent's Dotloop account as well, so they could see and do everything in your loop that you can do. So it allows you both to collaborate on a loop on a transaction together. Another great use for it, if you're on a real estate team and you have a team admin, you can add your admin to every loop and click Add to My Team, and it will put this loop in your admin's Dotloop account so they can help you with these transactions. So great feature, just not for our clients. So now that we have this added in, let's go ahead and click Add Person on the bottom right here to finalize adding in our client. I can now see my client's name, email address, and that he's a seller. You will always see your admin and yourself in your Dotloop account, and please make a note of what your Dotloop email address is, as that is the address that other agents will need to share forms with in order to get those forms in your loop. Okay, very important that you know what your Dotloop email address is. If you have any questions on that, of course, feel free to let me know. On the far right of your name, one more important step is you need to change where it says None to listing agent. Okay, you need to give yourself a role if you need to sign any forms. So in the listings case, you would need to sign a listing agreement, most likely, depending on where you are, but you'll need to go ahead and give yourself a role of listing agent so that you can sign things. And we have now added the people to our transaction, which is where you'll always want to start. And you can, of course, continue adding people by clicking Add Person on the top right if there's a spouse in the transaction and so forth. Now let's scroll to the very top of our screen in the Document section where you'll be spending most of your time in your Dotloop process here. So let's talk a little bit about folders and organizing your loop before we get started adding forms to this. So if you did select a loop template, you may have some folders in there already, which is great. Or you may just have the one folder like I have. Either way, I want to show you how best to organize your loop for a listing and or sales loop. So you will, of course, know that as you create a loop and as you go through a transaction, there are about 1.5 million different forms that go into a single transaction. Putting them all under one folder is extremely overwhelming. It makes it really hard for you to quickly and efficiently find the forms that you need to get going with your transaction. Of course, it's all time sensitive. And also, your admin are going to be going through your loop, so making it easy for them to find the forms they need. They will be very, very happy with you. We always want to make our admin happy. So first folder here, if it just says folder, let's talk about how to rename that. So the 3 drop-down dots on the far right of the folder name, let's go ahead and click there. And click rename. Okay, so 3 drop-down dots always means more options in Dotloop and most places. We'll want to click rename. And we'll want to rename this to, let's say, listing folder. Okay, and you can just start typing. When you click rename, it will put the ticker on the left side of folder. So you can type in the word listing folder, for example. And in your listing folder, we might want to put things like our active MLS data sheet, the measurements of the home, the residential property disclosures signed by your sellers, the listing agreement, working with real estate agents, if that's required. All right, your office staff may have a whole list of all the different things that go into your listing file, so feel free to check in with them to see what those forms are. Once I have the folder name, I can either click Enter on my keyboard, or I can click in the white margin here to make that stick. So I'm going to click Add Folder on the top right of my document section here to add a new folder in. It will generate this new folder, which I can double click on the word new, okay, or highlight that, however you'd like to do it. Click to the right of the word new to backspace, and type in the word sales folder. In our sales folder, that may have things like the fully executed property disclosures, fully executed contract, anything that goes into the contract of the property. Again, check in with your office staff to see what they require for your sales folder, and click Enter on your keyboard or click in the white margin to make that stick. And just to draw this full circle for you, we can click Add Folder one more time, getting in lots of great practice on adding folders. And we can change this new folder here to a closing folder. Okay, and in the closing folder, we'll add in things like the closing disclosure, maybe a termite letter, anything involved in the closing of the property. Our favorite stage of the transaction, right? And then click Enter on your keyboard or click in the white margin again to make that stick. Okay, if you type in a funky folder name, you can always go to rename that here. Another great use for folders is, let's say you are representing the listing and the contract terminates. The worst, right? So what you can do in that case, you could then rename the sales folder to terminated, and maybe the client's name that was terminated under. You would then add a new folder, and you could name that, new contract, and with that client's name, so that you can put all of the new contract information under that folder. Okay, so it's a great way to stay organized for a listing. Just a quick note on that, if you are representing, will the folders be available in future loops? A good question. So not necessarily. That's what the loop templates do. So you would have to recreate these folders in every loop that you create, unfortunately. Yeah, so there's not a way to pull these same folders into every loop automatically, unless your office utilizes loop templates that I pointed out when we were first creating the loop. That would automatically bring folders, but it would have to be set up from an admin standpoint, like from your office staff's side. Quick note on terminating properties. So if you are representing the listing and the offer terminates, you can continue using the same loop and just create a new folder for the new offer that comes in, okay, like I just mentioned. However, if you are representing the buyer and the contract terminates, so they have to purchase a new home, you will need to create a whole different loop, because that is how Dotloop does these loops, is per property, not per the client. So if you were to keep the same loop, it would continue filling in all the old property information, which gets really confusing. So let me say that one more time, because I do know that is a little bit to take in. If you're representing the buyer and the contract terminates, you will need to create a new loop for the new property that they are buying. Okay, and I will be showing you in today's class how to copy forms from one loop to another so that you can quickly copy over the forms like the buyer agency agreement and so forth that would apply to the next transaction as well. Okay, if you have any questions on that, please do not hesitate to ask me. With that being said, now that we hopefully feel pretty comfortable on folders, let's talk about adding documents to our loop. Now you can simply click on Add Document to the far right of any of the folder names, and that will pop up 3 blue boxes under that folder name, giving you 3 main options to add forms to your loop. Okay, the main way that you can add interactive forms, okay, when I say interactive forms, I mean forms that you can just start typing in, is in this first blue box where it says Templates. Let's go ahead and do that so we can bring in a practice form. I just want to show you an extra cool step that you can do on these forms I don't go over in Dotloop 101. So the first blue box I'm going to go ahead and click on, that pulls a form from our templates. Now these templates are added in by your office staff because they are awesome. So all of these forms here, all the forms that in theory you'll need to go through your transaction. On the left-hand side, you will notice red form folders going down your screen with a little scrolling bar on the right side of this section. Okay, these are form folders. So I'm going to go ahead and search for a listing agreement, for example. Okay, you can really search for whatever form you would like to. So I'm going to find the form folder on the left-hand side that I believe would have the form I'm looking for. I'm going to go ahead and click on that form name, that form folder name in red on the left-hand side to select that. When I do that, it will pull up all the forms on the right-hand side that are in that form folder. And I can use the search bar at the top of my screen to search for whatever form I'm looking for. So let's say in this case, I'm looking for a listing agreement. So I'll type in the word listing. I know it's named something a little different in every state. Sure would be nice if they were all named the same thing, wouldn't it? Alright, so I'm typing in the word listing. It searches for all the forms with that in the title of the form. And I can simply click on the checkbox to the left of the form name. Okay, you can select multiple from this list as well. And I can click copy on the right-hand side. And once I click copy, it lets me know that one of one was imported, and I can click OK. And I'll have my exclusive right to sell listing agreement in my loop here. Okay, whatever form you just brought in should now be in your loop. And I can now simply click on that form name to pull that open in my Dotloop account right away. Now when I click on that form name, it will pull up this autofill box, and we never want to X out of this box. This box is our best friend, makes your life tons easier. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about roles on the top here. So roles, you will need to have your client's name in line with seller 1 if you want your client to be able to electronically sign. I can't emphasize enough that your client will not be able to electronically sign unless you see their name in line with seller 1, seller 2, and so forth. So if you do not see your client's name from that list, you can go ahead and click select person and select their name from that list here. Or of course, let's say I didn't know there was a spouse in the transaction, I could click add person and add in the spouse's information right from here as well. Okay, but you will need to see their name in line with their role in order for them to electronically sign. Same goes with your role, listing agent. If you need to sign the form, you will need to make sure you see your name in line with listing agent. If you do not, simply click on that, select person, and select your name from the list. As I scroll down, you'll see some property information here. Any information that you fill in on this autofill form will not only auto-populate it onto this form we're about to go work on, it will fill it in on every future form that you bring into this loop specifically. So huge time saver to fill it in this autofill form. When we were creating our loop at the beginning, near the beginning of class, I did mention there was a way to pull in the property information, the public property information, and link your loop to the listing agent's loop. You can do that right here as well. So if I were to start typing, it will start pulling up suggestions. Okay, so you can link your loop from here as well. And again, that will pull in all the property information from that agent's loop. Okay, just the public property information, nothing private. And it will also link your loop to that agent's loop. Alright, so just so you can see what it looks like when information auto-populates, if you'd like to put in some of the property information here, feel free. Okay, you might already feel comfortable with this. I'll just fill in a little bit so you can see what it looks like. This is a really handy tool if you're a newer agent or newer to these forms. Dotloop knows where all this property information and it goes on the form, so it will place that information there for you. It's a great way to learn where that information goes in the future if you need help with that. Either way, it's a great time saver. So as we scroll down, let's scroll down to the very bottom and you can glance over the different options that you have to fill in on this form specifically and click autofill. So I'm clicking autofill on the very bottom right. It's a red button. And it will autofill that information for you. So I can tell it autofilled. The fields that are yellow indicate to me that that information was autofilled. And of course I have a little black speech bubble on the right side that tell me 2 roles have been assigned and 13 fields have been autofilled. If you ever need to pull that autofill box back up, that can be done by clicking on that option on the very top right black toolbar. Okay. So I do go into in detail on how to prepare and share these interactive forms in Dotloop in the Dotloop 101 video. Okay, so feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com if you need more help on that. Okay, again, that's slmtraining.com, and that's the Dotloop 101 video. What I want to show you in today's class, though, is let's hover over More on the top black toolbar, and let's talk about host in-person signing. Let's talk about what that is, because that is a cool tool. So let's say, first of all, general concept of Dotloop is you type up the entire form and you share it to your client. It sends via email, so your client can click to electronically sign from their computer, from their email. Well, if you are on a listing appointment, let's say, wouldn't it be nice if you could type up the form right next to them so you can explain the form to them and then pass the device when you're ready to your client so they could sign right next to you? Well, good news, that's exactly what the host in-person signing does. So once you're done typing up the entire form, just a quick note, as you probably know, you do need to fill out the entire form first before having your client sign it. If you try and change something after the form is signed, it will, of course, erase their signatures, as the system thinks that they didn't sign for that change. It makes sense, okay? So make sure you fill out the entire form first. And then you can come up to More on the top black toolbar and click Host in-person signing. Okay, don't do this right now, just watch on my screen. I'll tell you why in just a moment here. So when you click Host in-person signing, first of all, it will ask if you want to save, so I'll click yes. And then it will ask you which person is going to be signing. So this is particularly useful if there is multiple people in the transaction. You would have multiple names here, so you can decide who is going to be signing first. Now, one thing that you need to know, so of course, just to finish that off, you would just click Continue, select the person and click Continue, and then you will pass the device to your client. Now, one big thing to know, once your client has signed the form and gives you back the device, it will have logged you out of your Dotloop account and logged your client into their free Dotloop account that they just created. So when your client hands you back your computer, for example, I just don't want you to be caught off guard. You will need to log back into your Dotloop account. Okay, it will have logged you out of your Dotloop and it logged you in. Well, I just said something funky. Would you guys confirm that you can still hear me? My phone just said that is not a valid menu option. So I just want to make sure that everyone can still hear me before I continue with today's class. So if you could just shoot me a quick message and let me know if you can hear me. If not, I'll need to call back in. Just let me know real quick. I'll continue teaching and hopefully someone can confirm for me that they can still hear me. Alright, so when you get the device back and after your client has host in person signed, you will need to log back into your Dotloop account. Okay, great. Thank you so much for confirming. Okay, awesome. Computer listening. Okay, well hopefully I have 2 confirmations, so let me know if you cannot hear me and we can always adjust further. Thank you for confirming, guys. But as I was saying, for host in person signing, you will just need to log back into your Dotloop account after your client signs, so I just don't want you to be caught off guard, so you know that you'll have to log back in. So a very cool tool, this host in person signing, can again be done from the More option. Okay. Right, if you need further help on this interactive form, of course, you can always email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com or feel free to check out the Dotloop 101 video for in-depth instructions on how to fill out and share this form. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and click on this back arrow on the very top left, black toolbar. Okay, it's to the left of the form name on the top left. It's a little hard to see. It's a red back arrow on the black bar to get back to your loop. Now I'm going to show you a really cool feature. It's called a make a copy feature, and it's actually used for 2 main things. First of all, the make a copy feature is used, I did mention that if your property terminates and you're representing the buyer, you will need to copy all of your forms that apply to the next loop that you create for the new property you're creating an offer for. Okay, so the make a copy feature will show you how to copy forms from one loop to another. The second really great thing that this make a copy feature does, and I'll be showing you this in just a second, is it will allow you to make changes to signed forms. Now I did just mention that if a form is fully executed, so fully signed by your clients, and you need to make a change to that. Let's say it's a small change, like you put their name as Tony and you need to put their legal name as Anthony. Okay, you'll want to be able to make a small change to the form without it erasing all the signatures on the form, because that's the worst when you have a fully executed document and those signatures get erased. So let me show you how to use the make a copy feature to achieve both of those things. So now that we have a form in our loop, I'll want to click on the 3 drop-down dots, the far right of that form name, which will give you more options on what to do with that form. And I can click make a copy. All right, so I clicked on the 3 drop-down dots, the far right of the form name, and then I clicked make a copy. And it will give me 2 options here. Okay, the first one is copy as a Dotloop document. If you're taking notes on today's class, what that means is copy as a Dotloop document. That is the option you will want to select if you are copying the form from one loop to another. In this case, I'm going to show you how to copy as a flat PDF, okay, so that you can make changes to the form. So keywords in here is signatures are preserved, all right? So this is if the form is fully executed, we need to make a small change, but we want to preserve those signatures. So I'm going to select the second option that says copy as flat PDF. So make sure you do that. Make sure you change it to the second option. And let's select to loop. The red button towards the right side, to loop. When I do that, it will bring up a list of all of the loops that I have in my Dotloop account. In this case, I want to copy it back into the same loop that I am currently working on. So I'm going to use this search bar at the top of my screen to search for the loop that I'm currently in. So whatever you named your loop for today's class. And I can click on that once it displays. Once I click on that loop name, it will give me my folder names right under it. Okay, and for confusion's sake, I'm going to go ahead and select the sales folder. So I'm copying it into a different folder there. And I'll click copy. Gives me that nice little check mark letting me know one of them was imported, and I can click OK. And I now see that form copied on over to my sales folder. I'll be showing you in just a second why this is so different. So when I click on that new form, okay, so when I click on the new form, I know it's named the same thing, which is definitely confusing. You can always rename the form by clicking on the 3 drop-down dots on the far right and click rename so that you can tell a difference between the forms, okay, practically. All right, so I can click on that new form that I just copied in, and I can now see that I can't just click on any of these fields to start typing. That is the definition of a PDF, really. A PDF you cannot edit, you cannot just click to start typing. Okay, the first form we filled in was an interactive form, and that you can just start typing in. When we copy it as a flat PDF, it is not editable, okay, typically. The good thing about that is it preserves signatures, meaning that if this is fully executed, we can now make changes to it and all the signatures will stay. Okay, so let me show you now how you can make changes to a PDF, what we're working on. Okay, just one more time, this is extremely helpful if you need to make edits to a fully signed document without the signatures being erased. So what I can do is I can come up to Add on the top black toolbar, and I can come to any of these options. So these are all the different fields that you are able to add to a PDF. There's not many programs, especially not many free programs, that allow you to edit PDFs, so this is pretty cool for you as a KW agent. And you can click Add Strike Through in this case. Let's say, because I'm going to change, I put in Tony Stark as his name for any Iron Man fans, okay, but I need to change that to his legal name, which is Anthony Stark. So I'm going to click to drop the what's this called? Strike through, sorry, lost my word there. Click to drop the strike through down on my page. Right? And now what I can do is come back up to Add on the top black toolbar where I can add text. So I'm going back up to Add on the top black toolbar and I can click Add Text. It will start following my mouse. Right? And just a heads up, if you are on a tablet or a touchscreen computer, it will not follow your mouse. You will just need to click and it will drop it. But all other computers, you should see it following your mouse, so I can click to drop, and it will lay that text box down. Now the text box does always populate very small, so if you would like to expand that, you can make sure you click on that text box, and then you will see a little right triangle on the bottom right of your text box. If you line your mouse up with that right triangle on the bottom right, you can click to expand that to make it the entire field here. And then I can type in the correct name for my client. Now, as you know, if you make any changes to a fully signed document, that will need to be initialed by your client, or by all parties rather. All right, so I can do that by coming up to Add on the top black toolbar, and I can add initials. Okay, the initial box will start following my mouse, and I can click to drop that. Okay, if you've been using Dotloop for a little bit, this is a little more of an advanced tip here, but you can lay multiple text boxes, or fields rather, at a time if you hold Shift on your keyboard and then click to lay the field, you can then lay the next one. Okay, you can keep doing that. So if you hold Shift before clicking to lay the field, it will then allow you to lay another one. So that's how you can lay multiple fields at once without keep going back to the Add menu. And I can lay the next one. If you ever accidentally add a field, you can always click on the X on this top black toolbar. Okay, you will need to select the field that you would like to delete. So if you randomly laid that in the middle of your form here, you can always click the X on the top black toolbar and it will get rid of that. You can also see how easy it was for me to move the field by just clicking on the edge of the field. You'll see your mouse turns into a cross-like arrow, which will allow you to move the field where you would like it. Now with initial and signature fields, there is an extra step that you will need to take for your client to be able to sign that. Okay? If you just lay initial field, they will not be able to sign that unless you assign the field to them. Very important. So you'll notice it does say assign field right under that. If I click on it, it'll show me assign field, which I can click on. And it gives me this drop-down box at the top of my screen where I can go to click on my client's name from that list. And it will populate my client's initials in the box. Now just a heads up, if you were to print this form, it would be a blank box. Okay, this TS in print, okay, the client's initials in print, is just showing you that you set it up correctly so that your client will be able to electronically sign. So you must see your client's initials in print to know that they can electronically sign. Very, very important. Of course, you've probably seen a form that's actually signed. It looks very different when the field is actually signed. It's in cursive with a time and date stamp. So this print version just shows you that you set it up correctly. So that is how you can go about adding fields. There's a whole plethora of different fields that you can add. Let me tell you a little bit more about when you would want to use this PDF editor. Another great time to use the PDF editor is, let's say you receive the form, let's say you receive a contract from the agent on the other side. And the agent on the other side does not work with KW, so they don't use Dotloop. Let's say they work with Remax. So they just sent you the contract in an email as a PDF. And we now know that you cannot edit a PDF, right? That's what we're looking at here, not editable. So what you can do is you can add that form to your loop. And I'll be showing you how in just a moment here. So add that PDF to your loop, and then you can add fields to the form. So you can add initial boxes and add signature boxes to the form and email it to your clients to electronically sign. Okay, so let me show you how you would do that process. So let's go ahead and click the back button on the top left of the form name. You'll see the form name, and let's click the back arrow. Again, it's hard to see, red back arrow on the black toolbar. It'll ask you if you would like to save. You can click yes. If it asks you if you would like to share, you can click no for right now. And let's talk about how you would add further documents to your loop so that you can edit it as a PDF. So under, or to the far right of any of the folder names, we can go ahead and click Add Document. So let's say I'm going through this theory that I told you guys about. The agent, the Remax agent on the other side, emailed me the offer to purchase, and now I need to add that to my loop so I can add fields to it and have my client electronically sign that. So I click Add Document to the far right of that folder name. And now I'm going to select that center option, the Browse option. So search and add any PDF from your computer into this folder. So in theory, you would have needed to save the PDF from your email to your computer first. So that's the first step. I can now click Browse, that center blue box, to search my computer. All right, I can then scroll to find wherever I saved that offer or that form that the other agent sent me on my computer. And I can double click on that to pull that into my loop immediately. Okay, so that is using the Browse feature, is how you would pull PDFs into your loop from your computer. So now from there, I can simply click on that form name. It will bring me right to the PDF so I can make any changes to it. So I can come up to add and add anything I'd like to edit, strike through, or let's say I need my client to sign that, I would come up to add initials, and I can add that to the bottom of each page so my client can sign that. Okay. Again, just a quick note to make sure you guys know, you will need to assign the field to them. Okay, as a PDF, it doesn't automatically do that for you, so you will have to assign every field to your client for them to be able to electronically sign. Once you're done with that, you can click Save and Share on the top right. Okay, to share that with them right away. All right, I know that was just a quick overview, but hopefully you feel pretty comfortable for adding forms, or adding fields, sorry, as we did focus on that on the previous PDF we were working on. So the main last thing I want to show you guys before we wrap up class is how to email forms into your loop. So if you could, if you're following along, you can always click the back arrow, or you might just be watching on my screen at this point. So I'm clicking the back arrow on the top left to get back home, or get back to my loop. And if you would, just watch on my screen for the rest of this. So what I'm going to show you now is the third way that you can get documents into your loop, and that is emailing documents in. So when I click Add Document on the far right of any of the folder names, we went over the first two options here, and the third option is my personal favorite. I just think this is pretty cool feature. You can attach the files you need to an email and send them directly into this folder. So let me show you how you would do that. So what, in theory, when you would use this is, again, the Remax agent sent you a PDF of the offer to purchase, and it is now in your emails. Okay, this is the most efficient way to get the emailed offer to purchase from your emails directly into your loop. So I see that here. I see that offer to purchase, it is a PDF that the other agent has sent me. So step one is I'm going to select the email option after clicking Add Document. So I'm selecting that third blue box over that says email. And it will generate this crazy long Dotloop email address that is specific to this folder in this loop. And I can click Copy to Clipboard. And once I do that, it will say Email Copied to Clipboard, and I can go on over to my email account, where I see that PDF attached to the email. So I now need to forward this email. If you are working in a KW Gmail account, you forward your email by clicking on the three drop-down dots on the top right of the email and click Forward. If you're using another email account, however you forward it, okay, you would click on Forward. And I now see the email with the attached offer, the attached PDF, and I see the To field. I will want to right-click in the To field and click Paste to paste in that crazy long Dotloop email address. Okay, so when I click Send, Dotloop will ignore all the verbiage in the email and only send in the attached PDF. So I click Send here. And I can go back to my loop. I can go back to my Dotloop account. So I'm just switching tabs on the top of my screen here between my email and my Dotloop account. So I'm back in my loop, and it won't just automatically pop in, by the way. You will have to refresh your page. So the way that you refresh your page is by clicking on the circle, the arrow in a circle on the top left of your screen. It typically takes about 20-30 seconds for that form to populate in your loop, but I can click on refresh on the top left of my browser. And voila, we have the emailed offer to purchase. So that is the quickest way to get a PDF from your email to your loop. And I do realize that was quite a few steps there. So I do have a little tip video I'm going to send out so that you can watch that again. Alright, so that will show you this email in the Dotloop. It's a short 10-minute video. It will show you how not only how to email into your loop here, but also a second way on how you can email into Dotloop. There's a Dotloop inbox that you can email into as well. Okay, while we're at it, let me go ahead and send over a second video for you guys to watch. It's called for the Make a Copy feature. Okay, that was the feature I showed you guys how you could copy forms from one loop to another, clicking on the three drop-down dots on the far right and clicking Make a Copy. Right, and it will also turn an interactive form to a PDF in your existing loop so that you can make edits to it. Alright, so those are a couple tip videos on that just to help you guys out on that. If you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email me at support@scottleroymarketing.com, and I'd be more than happy to send that tip video over to you right away. All right, so the final thing I want to show you guys, actually let me show you that second way, how to email into Dotloop and show you where your templates are, and then I will let you go and enjoy playing with Dotloop. So let me show you that second way that you can email into your loop, and that is by clicking on the template section on the top right. It's on the top right of your Dotloop account. You will see an icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper. That is your template section. And that will show you all of the different, all of your forms that you have in your loop. So in your Dotloop account, which your office staff adds in for you. I want to point out that you have a Dotloop email address. Okay, it's a way to upload files into your inbox here. Okay, you'll notice I have an inbox. If you've never emailed into Dotloop, I don't believe you'll have an inbox quite yet, so don't be alarmed. However, you can upload files by emailing those to this email address that you have. Of course, you'll want to look at the one on your screen, your loop. All right, so the benefit of this email address is this email address stays the same. So you can save this to your address book in your emails. Okay, and let's say you get a contract, you're on the go, and the other agent emails you a contract. So now it's a PDF in your emails. You can quickly forward that to this email address that you see, and it will put it into the inbox in your Dotloop account, so you can add that to your loop as soon as you get back to the office. So let me show you how that process works real quick here. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and take this email address here. You can highlight it and copy it. Right? And so in theory, you'd want to add that to your address book. That would be the first step. So now what I can do, I'm on the go, I look at my phone, I have this email from the other agent, and they emailed me a contract that I need to quickly add to my Dotloop account before I forget. Okay, I have a million things going on as an agent, as we all know. So I can simply forward that email. This is very similar to the steps we just did. And I can put in that Dotloop email address. Again, this Dotloop email address always stays the same. And I can click send. Okay. Dotloop will ignore the verbiage in the email and just email over the PDF. So once I click send, I can go back to my Dotloop account. Not to confuse you guys, I am on 2 different tabs here, so I'm just switching back and forth on the top of my browser. So I'm back to my Dotloop account, and I'm in my inbox. Again, the form will not just pop up in my inbox. I do need to refresh the page. So I can now click on the arrow and a circle on the top left of my browser to refresh the page. And it will pull in that emailed offer that I just shot over, okay, to my inbox. So now just to finish the process for you so you guys can see this, what I would want to do now that I'm back in my office and I'm back in my Dotloop account on my computer, I can very quickly add this emailed form into my loop. And how I would do that, sorry, I clicked on the loops icon on the top right of my Dotloop account. Looks like a smiley face with no eyes. Okay, click on the loops icon. And I can click into my loop, whichever loop needs to be, that form needs to be added to. I can click add documents to the far right of any of the folder names that form needs to be added to. And it will be in my templates. So in that top option, right, just to, again, draw it full circle, this icon here is the same as that icon on the top right where we started, where we grabbed our Dotloop email address. So I'll go ahead and click on that templates option. I see the inbox option on the top left. You should see an inbox option. I can then click on the form name and click copy to pull that in. Okay, so that'll always be in your inbox. If you email anything to yourself with that Dotloop email, it will go to your inbox here. So I can click copy, click OK, and that will be in my loop now. Okay, I do know I overviewed those steps pretty quickly there. That video that I sent out overviews both ways on how to email into your Dotloop account. You can pause that video so you can practice on your end, because of course that is the best way to learn anything that you're working on. So feel free to check that out. Very last thing I want to point out to you guys is you can create form templates. So for example, and let me go into my templates on the top right here. Okay, so that's templates by clicking on the templates icon on the top right. Okay, I'm going to send out one last video for you guys to watch. This is honestly one of my favorite features in Dotloop. I'm going to tell you about what it does so that you can watch it on this video I just sent out, okay, because we're running out of time here. So what you can do, let's say you can create a folder. So I have a new folder here that I can create. And let's say I name that Leah's Listing Docs. Okay, of course you'll want to use your name, that being said. And let's say I add a listing agreement to that folder. So a lot of the information on a listing agreement goes on to every single listing agreement, right? You might find that as you're creating listing agreements for properties, yes, some of the information is property specific, but some of the fields you type in every single listing agreement. Well, what you can do is you can add a listing agreement as a form template in here, put in all of the information that goes on most listing agreements, for example, so that you can pull in that templated listing agreement into every loop, every listing loop that you create. So it's a way that you can add information to a form that goes on most of those forms, and so you can pull that into every single loop that you create that applies to. Of course, the information can be changed on the form as you pull it in, but that is a huge, huge time saver as an agent to have at least some of the information already filled in for you. So feel free to check out that video I just sent over that will tell you exactly step by step on how to do that. If you have any questions at all as you're going through all of this, please do not hesitate to let me know. Email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Again, you can put my name. Attention is Leah, L-E-A-H. I'd be more than happy to help you through your Dotloop experience so that you have a full understanding of this and are utilizing all of the great tools in your Dotloop account. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.